Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and it is a joy to be here on this beautiful day. I'm drinking a pumpkin spice black tea with honey and cream, and I am so blissed out happy. It's almost sickening. So, just hold on to your hats, peeps. This is going to be a beautiful time together. Friends, for the month of October, on Wednesdays, that is, we have been exploring a very famous work by an 8th century monk. His name was Shantideva. He lived in India, and he was a student at a university there, and he was intensely studying Buddhist practices and principles. Shantideva was in some ways a slacker, in some ways a rebel, because he really took to heart one of the main instructions by the Buddha, which is take these practices and principles, breathe them into yourself, and see how they come alive in you. Don't take my word for it as the Buddha or as any teacher. Take your wisdom, take your word for it. Trust your own knowing. So that's what Shantideva did. And he was highly motivated to reduce suffering in the world. He was a highly sensitive individual, a fully compassionate individual, obviously very loving, very kind. And he could see the misery and the inequity of 8th century India, and he really wanted to make a difference. So he took these Buddhist principles and practices, and he created what's called a roadmap for himself. Never did he think that he would share it for anybody else. But the student body was a little jealous of him, a little disturbed by the fact that he didn't toe the line. He didn't conform in the way that they did. So they challenged him. And he shared this whole original teaching with the student body and blew people's minds. And that was shared via the oral tradition for many, many years until it was finally written down by various scribes. And we have a beautiful translation of it. It was translated by Geshe Kelsang Gyatso, a Tibetan Buddhist monk. And it's called The Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. A bodhisattva, friends, is a human being who has awakened, a human being who can really understand the causes and conditions of their own misery, and by extension, see the causes and conditions of suffering in the world, and is endeavoring to reduce that suffering by any means possible. And a bodhisattva is somebody that wants to do that over and over and over and over again for many, many, many lifetimes. We've been studying the 6th chapter called Relying on Patience. And today I'm only going to read a couple of verses. This whole book is written almost like a giant epic poem, a little reminiscent of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, very famous epic poem in the Hindu practice. And I'd like to preface this particular reading by contemplating the body, your body, as this ancient clay vessel, the carrier of the mind, the carrier of one's consciousness, one's capacity to produce thoughts, stories, the place of one's emotional landscape that can have effects on the physical body, but is somehow separate from the body. We often think about the mind as being in the head, related to the brain. But if we can broaden our perspective of mind as being consciousness, then we can recognize that so much of the body has a consciousness. The heart and its muscular nature has a consciousness. It knows how to beat. The lungs know how to breathe, and they change how they breathe based on what the body is doing, the messaging. The brain has all of its neural connections that dictate and send messages throughout all of the body, a consciousness. So I'd like you to think about the mind and the body being both separate and connected. And the way we can begin to do that is to anchor the body, to really center the body. So in your practice today, if you'd like to lie down, please do. And if you are lying down, notice for a moment where your body is making contact with the floor or your bed or couch. Likewise, if you're sitting down, notice which parts of your body are making contact with support. And adjust your body in such a way that you can be fully at ease and open to receive. These are the words of Shantideva. Since my mind is not a bodily form, there is no one who can destroy it. But because I am strongly attached to my body, I feel hurt when it is suffering. Contempt, harsh words, and unpleasant speech do not harm the body. So why, mind, do you become so angry? The next verse begins with a question, as if somebody is asking Shantideva this. Such slanderous words may cause others to dislike you. Shantideva writes, their dislike will not cause me any harm in this or future lives, so why should I not want it? But if people dislike you, that might prevent you from acquiring wealth or status. Shantideva responds, but I shall lose all my worldly acquisitions when I die. The only thing to remain will be the non-virtue I create. And I would add that our virtue will remain too if we think about mind and consciousness as a stream, as an impression that we leave upon this life. This particular section, these verses, reminds me of something that a saying that is attributed to Maya Angelou. And she writes, people will forget the things that you said. People will forget the things that you do, but people will never forget the way you make them feel. And all of this points to, friends, the intimate and complex workings and the interconnectedness of our bodies, our emotional landscapes, and our minds. The stories we tell, the stories we repeat, the judgments we have, the fixations, the habit energy that manifests in the mind as our repetitive thoughts and stories. And this can manifest in the body, and it can shift the mood from one to elation all the way down to depression. So there's a whole lot going on here that's constantly in motion, constantly fluid. And so by coming into meditation, coming into present time awareness, we can begin to extract these foundations of mindfulness and really look at the body as a physical form, as a vessel that carries the mind and the mood, that is sensitive to the mind and the mood. So, if we want to take better care of the body, it makes perfect sense then to watch and care for the mind. Wherever the mind is arising in your body. And so, for example, I have shared many times in this community that one of the places where anxiety, that feeling, manifests in my body is in my gut. And when I'm nervous, when I'm anxious, my gut just clamps down. It feels almost like a cramp in my gut. And I have an increase of stomach acid type secretions. So my stomach feels a bit sour. I often have a sensation of being hungry even when I'm not. And then, with all of the awareness of these sensations coming forward because of my feelings of anxiety and worry, the next thing I know, thoughts begin to erupt, stories begin to come forward. Julia, what's the matter with you? Why are you so nervous? There's nothing to be worried about. There you go again. God, you're so anxious all the time. Why do you have to make a mountain out of a molehill? When are you ever going to learn? Rah, 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 rah. I can never seem to catch a break from that particular non-virtuous inner critic. And so then I have to call upon a different voice, the sage voice, the practitioner in me that says, wow, would you look at this? Got a whole lot going on. This body of mine is going to fade. It's going to continue to age. If I'm lucky, it's going to continue to age. And eventually it will get sick and it will die. And all the while, I can be nurturing my consciousness that feeds this limitless stream of consciousness in the way that I interact with people, the way that I create conditions so people can feel something. And I'm highly motivated for people to feel safe And for me, safety means seen, heard, connected, belonging, nurtured. And in order for me to create those conditions, I have to take care of my mind because my mind can come forward in unskillful ways, the way I talk, the way my presence wavers. So, what I'm hearing in Shantideva's words today is watch the mind. Notice your thoughts. Notice the stories that emerge and notice how these things positively, negatively, or neutrally affect your mood and your body. It's all connected, but you can pull them apart. You can look at these things separately, but you can only do that when you take a moment. And it doesn't have to be a long moment, just one moment. In fact, let's do that together now. Let's take a few moments of silence and explore this. So come into the body and just quickly have a look over your beautiful body, this wonderful temple. How does it feel? What's your mood? Can you be curious about it? Gently so. Like, my mood's pretty lighthearted. Or maybe your mood is a little irritated because you're not having a sip of my pumpkin spice black tea with honey and cream. Maybe your mood is fatigued. Allow your mood to be exactly as it is. Invite it to be perfect. Notice your mind and your thoughts wherever it is in your body. And just observe. And breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. And maybe by creating the condition of a little bit of calm, a little bit of presence, some safety in your own experience, you can be enough. And I mean that literally, to be enough, just as you are in this moment. Enjoy this spaciousness and ease. Friends, when we can allow ourselves to be wholly ourselves, there's this impeccable harmony that can happen. The body's at ease, the mind finds some spaciousness and ease, the mood is sort of somewhat neutral. And really, this emergence of this Buddha nature can come through. We have this overall feeling of security and safety so that, should the slings and arrows of others come toward us by way of accusation or unskillfulness or a lack of practice and deregulation, just all the things that happen when we're interacting with an unpracticed world, what can happen is we stay steady, we stay clear, we stay virtuous in our own behavior so that we don't become reactive. And more importantly, we create the conditions where we're well boundaried so we minimize the way other people can cause harm. But this takes a lot of practice. And what we did today was beautiful and totally adequate and absolutely enough for this moment. Let's take a collective deep breath together and we'll end this practice and open up this space for community sharing. Breathing in, breathing out. Merit. This particular sentiment has been front and center for me for at least a week or more. And it is from a book called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And I really love this, and I'd like to share it as a dedication of our practice today. And we're dedicating this merit, the goodness that we have generated by prioritizing this time, by sharing our thoughts and feelings, by observing our thoughts and feelings, by listening to one another, by smiling with one another, by being receptive to the joy of each other, by holding with compassion the aches that others might be experiencing. All of this is profound virtue that we can now extend into the world simply by being present. It's extraordinary. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It is not just some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Get to liberating, people. Let's do this. Let's bring some more joy into a world that's obviously suffering, right? And it's so, so difficult to do, and yet so simple too. Thank you for demonstrating it by being here today. And I wish for you a magnificent afternoon. And I hope I get to see you tomorrow. May you have a blessed, blessed day. And and I'll remind you that I want to share with you just some quick medicine, some moose medicine. So I was visited on my farm by 4 moose today, a mama, 2 calves, and a bull. And their medicine, their wisdom that moose bring is to take up space. Take up space. And do so unapologetically, do so with magnificence and majesty, and maybe even a little weirdness and a little awkwardness, because moose are weird. So let that be how you take up space today, and be blessed and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.